everyone. Let me mute. Okay, so we'll wait for 2-3 minutes more. Okay, as long as everyone joins, we'll start our class. Okay. Okay, guys, we'll start our class today. So let me just share my screen. Just give me 1 minute. I'll share my screen. Hmm. Did you do the assignment? Did everyone do the assignment? Great. Did the assignment. That's very good. And you guys will be given other assignments also. And I'll be taking a note that whosoever is active in the class, whosoever is doing the assignment and everything. And if you do the assignments properly, then obviously you'll have a good impression. Then we'll be proceeding to further steps. Okay. So let us just start our session. Let me just share my screen. Okay. Okay. So today what we will be doing, we will be learning CSS today. What is basically CSS? CSS is something which is used for the styling purpose. So as I had told you guys before that our HTML is for structure. Okay, so I had told you guys HTML is for structure. Okay. CSS is for styling. And JavaScript is for functionality. Okay, is for functionality. So today we are moving on to the next step of web development, that is CSS, that is styling. We are done with making a structure. Now we'll move to styling. Now basically CSS is very easy. As like first thing you will get to know about CSS is that it's very easy. But again, CSS is something everyone tells, and I'll also repeat that it cannot be mastered in one day or two. It comes with practice. It has a lot of hacks in it. And that basically comes when you practice it, when you design a lot of things, when you develop, and when you work on its front end, then you'll get to know that there are a lot of hacks in CSS. So basically, whenever you are trying to work on with CSS, you have to practice it a lot, and then only you can master CSS. Okay, and it's a fun thing. It's not boring. It's a very fun activity like CSS and all. So let us just start with CSS. Let us not waste our time in these all things. So, okay, we'll move on. Now this is our index.html. Okay, inside our index.html, let us just remove everything from our body part. Okay, let us remove everything from our body. After that, we need that inside our body, there should be kind of styling. Okay, we should have certain styling. Let us first structure and then we'll have certain styling. Okay, now the importance of division comes into action. I had told you before that you won't be getting the vibe of division without CSS. So let us just prepare 3 divisions. Okay, div 1, div 2, and div 3. Okay, and inside the first division, let us just write something as this is the first div. Okay, this is the first division, and then inside the second division, let us just write this is the second div, and inside the third division, let us just write this is the third div. Okay, great. Now let us remove these all things. We don't need these all things as of now. We don't need it. Yeah, great. Inside each of the division, we have certain contents. Like let us also give a line breaker so that we can demarcate the difference between all the divisions. Now this is done. Now let us just copy the full path, and let us paste it in our browser. You can see that we have our divisions. These divisions are not at all styled. They are basically, unstyled, and they are just plain text, black text. Okay. Now after that, we want to style our divisions. So how do we style our divisions? So inside CSS, you have to select certain element or certain class or certain ID if you want to apply styling. Okay, you cannot blindly say that, okay, I want to apply styling over here. You have to select certain things. Okay, so for that we need to, first of all, the very first step is to have a style sheet. Okay, so we will just create a new file with the name of style.css. Now, what does .css stands for? .css is basically the extension. It says that this entire file is a styling sheet. Okay, it's a style sheet. This is responsible for styling of your entire web page to which it is linked. HTML, like here also we have .html. .html signifies the type of this file. Okay, great. After that, we have our style sheet, we have our index.html. We want that whatever, code is written over here, whatever CSS code is written inside the style sheet, we need to have that inside our index.html. So we have to link this entire style sheet to our index.html, right? So we'll be doing that particular thing. To link, you have to go and link it inside the head, because as I had told you, head is a section where it has information about your entire website or entire project. So over here inside the head, we need to have the link. We need to have the entire link for our style sheet, because head has the information for everything, and all these information do not directly affect, like these all data are not represented on the website, but yeah, they indirectly affect the styling or some of the properties of your entire web page. So here we will be just writing link, and the autocomplete will complete everything. Okay, so over here we have our link, Here rel stands for relationship. Okay, whatever you are linking to this HTML document, that has a relationship of what? It's basically a style sheet for this entire HTML document. So that is why rel equals to style sheet. Now after that we have href, that is hyperreference. You have to tell that where is the entire linked document present, where is the style sheet present. So here I'll be mentioning the path of like the file name of style sheet, that is style.css. Why did I write style.css? Because it is present at the same level of index.html. Okay, same level of index.html. Now if I save this and refresh the page, you will see absolute no difference over here. Why there is no difference? Because we have not written any styling code over here. We have to style it, right? We need to style it. So let us just start by writing certain lines of code for our entire HTML document. Okay, so there is a there are certain rules inside CSS. So let us just start over here. So first of all, there are selectors. Okay, what are selectors? Selectors are basically the elements or the class or the IDs whom you select and apply style to. Okay, so we have selectors. These are very important. Okay, selectors. Now, what are selectors? Selectors are something like you have an element selector, you have a class selector, you have a ID selector. Okay, so over here element selector, class selector, ID selector, we will be talking about three of them. Now what are selectors? Selectors are basically some elements or classes or ID for specifying style. Okay, for specifying style. Got it? So these are basically selectors, and there are three types of selectors. Okay, got it guys? Understood everyone? Great, great. So we will be talking about selectors now. So first of all, these are for specifying style. So let us first start with element selectors. Now element selectors are directly selecting the elements over here, that is the tags over here, and we apply style directly onto them. So I want that all the division tag should have a particular background color. Okay, so first of all we need to pick a color. What color do we need to have? So one of my favorite websites I recommend in all the classes for selecting colors is basically colorhunt.co. Okay, this is one of the very good websites for colors and all, for selecting colors and all. Here they have a very pretty color palette, like a lot of color palettes are present, and they are just pretty. You know, if you are, even if you are creating a website, you can take up any color palette and just theme your entire website on that particular color palette. So over here, let us just pick a color, a light color. So I want that all my divisions should have this color. Okay, this color. Now, whatever is mentioned over here is the hex code of the color. So all the colors have their hex codes. Okay, what are hex codes? Hex codes are basically a combination of the red, green, and blue code. That is red, green, and blue. That is the primary colors. They are the combination of those three colors. You do not have to go into the background of hex code, like how is it built or something like that. You get the hex code of whatever color you want automatically. You don't have to build anything like that. So we copied the hex code over here. Now let us go over here and let us go to our style sheet and let us just style our element. So what's our element? Our element is a div tag. Okay, our element is a div tag. Inside the div tag, now this is the syntax. First, whenever you are working with element selectors, you have to type in the name of the element and then curly braces. Okay, inside curly braces, you have to write the entire, like the entire code, entire CSS code. So over here, I want the background color. So these are basically, key value pairs. You don't have to remember everything. You can also go and like Google it, and you'll get a lot of resources how to add background color. But yeah, there are some very common things which automatically you will remember while you practice. Okay. So over here, the first one is background color. We have to have a background color. So first of all, we'll be having the background color. That is this one, which we copied from our entire, that colorhunt.co. This will be a background color. After that, you have to put a semicolon. Okay, you have to put a semicolon. After writing each CSS, line of code, you have to put a semicolon. After this also, if I add on another CSS code, then also I'll be putting another semicolon. Okay, so that is very important. Now, element selectors are something which are very generic. If you say division, then this particular background color will be applied to all the divisions. Now, let me just save it and show it to you guys. You can see that all the divisions have this background color. Okay, whatever background color I just now specified. So this entire, element selector is very generic. It basically applies the color, background color to all the divisions, because here div means all the divisions. There is nothing specific over here. So that is why developers thought that what if we want to specify, certain customized styling to different divisions. If I want that the first division should be red, the second division should be green, and the third division should be blue. So what if I want that? What should be done? Or what if I want the first and the last division to be blue and the second division to be yellow or red? What if I want that? Then that is the reason why class selectors came into action. Okay, why class selectors came. So now let us just move into class selectors. Now, what are class selectors? Class selectors are something which provide, certain styling to all the elements having the same class name. Okay, having the same class name. So over here, you will be having a class name. Okay. So this is the class, and here you can give the class name. Now, how will you give the class name? You cannot have a, space between the names. Like if I want that this division should be blue div. Okay, so I cannot write blue div like this. Either I can put a dash over here or a underscore over here. Both are accepted. Okay, both are accepted, but I cannot put a space. So I'll be writing blue div. Also, I want that this last division should also be in blue color, like should have a background color of blue. So they both have the same styling. That is the reason I will be giving the same class to this particular divisions also. Okay, this particular division also. Just a second, guys. Just a second. Yeah. Okay, guys. Okay. So over here, if you want that this division and this division should have the same styling, so that is why let us just put a same class to both of them. So I'll just copy this class and I'll just paste it here. Okay. So if I paste this class over here and over here as well, so they both will be having the same styling as it will be given to the same class. Okay. After that, I want that this class should have a, kind of a pink background. Okay, so I will be writing class, and then I'll be giving a class name like pink div. You can give any class name, but try to give a meaningful class name when you're working on production level projects, because on production level, if you don't give a meaningful name, then the developers and admins will go crazy on you, and they'll just tell you that, okay, you do not have experience on working in production level and all those things. So yeah, here you will be having the class name as pink div. Okay. Now it is very important to understand the workflow. Over here, we understood that the first division and the last division, we want to give a blue background to both of them. So that is why we will be giving a same class name. Okay, and under that particular class name, we will be assigning our styling. And to the second division, we want that it should have a pink background. So that is why we will be giving another class name to this particular division. Okay, and we will be styling them differently. So this is done. After that, let us just go to style.css and let us just remove this. Okay, let us just remove this. Okay, over here you can see that index.html, you have a class called blue div. So let us first style the blue div. Okay, so for class selectors, you have to follow certain norms. Whenever you write the style for a class selected, you have to start with dot and then the class name. So here the class name is blue div. Okay, so we will be writing dot and then blue div. After that, we will be writing our entire style over here, that is background color and this particular thing, whatever color we want. This is kind of a blue, so that's fine. Okay, after that, we want that for pink div also. Oh, sorry. We want that for pink div also. We want the same kind of, structure, but a different background color. So here, what we will be writing, background color. And we will be picking a pink color from here, kind of light pink. This is fine. Okay. And then we will be assigning it with a pink color. Okay, now if I save this and if I go over here and if I refresh it, you can see that both these divisions are blue in color and this particular division is pink in color. Why did that happen? That happened because the first two divs had the same class, the middle div had a different class, and the first two divisions had a class which had a background color of blue, and the middle division had a class which had a background color of pink. So that is the reason we use class selectors. We can, class selectors are very flexible. They are very much used inside development. It is always recommended to use a class selector instead of a ID selector. I'll tell you what is the difference between class and ID selectors. In class selector, you can repeat the class name for a lot of divisions. If you feel that all the divisions follow the same styling or all the elements follow the same styling, then you can basically have the same class for all of them. You can repeat a class name. But if I want to provide a ID, suppose, I see that over here it has a class of pink div. I can change this class to ID also. I can write ID pink div, and over here you have to follow one more thing. For class you start with dot, but for ID you start with hash. Okay, with hash. Now if I save this and if I go over here and refresh, still there is no change because instead of class we just used a ID. Okay, here there was a class, I just used a ID over here, and inside style.css, instead of dot, I used hash, which is basically the syntax of ID selector. But I cannot repeat this ID for different other than one element. One ID is unique. One ID can be used just once, not more than that. One ID, I cannot repeat this ID for this division. Okay, I cannot repeat this ID somewhere else also. This ID is fixed. I can have other IDs. I can have another ID with some other name, but I cannot repeat this ID. Okay, I cannot repeat this ID. That totally violates the rule. Okay, that will send you a linter error. Okay, so yeah, this is the difference between class and ID. So what is the difference between class and ID selector? Let us just demarcate the difference between class and ID selector. Okay, so element selector, just the element name. Okay, element, and then you have this particular thing. Class selector dot, then the class name. Okay, then the class name. And over here you have your entire CSS code with the semicolon. Okay. ID, you have hash and then the ID name. Okay. And then over here you have lines of code. Now element, you know this thing that all the elements have their own names. So element selector, there is no such rule. But in class selector, classes can be repeated. Okay, class name, can be repeated. Okay. But ID name can't be repeated. Okay. It can't be repeated. Got it, guys? So this is the difference between class selector and ID selector, and it is usually not preferred to use ID selectors. Okay, it is not preferred to use ID selector. There are certain things which I would like to tell from my personal experience. You should never use element selector blindly whenever you are working on a production level. Suppose you are working on Zomato. Okay, suppose you are working on Zomato. Let us go to Zomato. Inside Zomato, suppose, yeah, this is a paragraph. Okay, this is a paragraph. So suppose your entire team lead has told you that, okay, you are given the charge of changing this particular color to red. Okay, then what you will be telling? You will be doing that, okay, this is a paragraph, right? So let me just use a element selector. Let me just write P and then change its color. No, that will change the paragraph color of the entire website. Because P is basically for paragraph, and paragraph element is present on the entire website. You are just given in charge of this particular paragraph, so you can't do that blindly. Yes, if you are told to change the paragraph color of all the paragraphs of your website, then you can use the P tag. Okay. After that, one more thing. If you are given like class selectors are very helpful because you can directly give a class name to whatever you want to change the styling, and then you can apply your preferred styling over there. Okay. After that, why ID selectors are not used? Because ID selector is unique. It's like you cannot use it again and again. So it's like an extra line of code for just a small CSS. You can use ID selector when it's very much important, because ID selectors are prominent over class selector. If you are seeing that, okay, some styling is always present and I'm not able to remove it, then you can just go and apply ID selector. Suppose over here I have this blue color. Okay, this blue color I have. So over here I have the class as blue div. I want that the color should change to orange. Okay, the color should change to orange. If I apply a ID of orange div, okay, and inside style.css I go and write orange div. Okay, and let me just choose a color, choose a orange color from here. This is not orange, but yeah, this is fine. Okay, great. And then background color hash. Okay. If I go over here and refresh, you can see that though I had a class selector also over here. See, over here I have a class called blue div, I have an ID called orange div, but the ID is overwriting the class. The ID is always greater than the class. Okay, so it's not preferred. It's never a good practice to overwrite a CSS class. But yeah, sometimes it happens that you are seriously stuck at something and class is not doing your work. So simple, it's very simple that you can just apply a ID over there, and the ID will override all the class CSS. It will just override all the class CSS and your problem will be solved. So this is how we do things over here. So CSS, it's easy, but yeah, it comes with practice. Okay, it comes with practice. I have got some doubts. Or if an element has both class and ID, already told you, can we have many IDs with different? Yes, you can have. Imagine a class of student with different ID. Yeah, you explained. Okay. Div class, blue div. Yeah, it's fine. Camel casing, it's fine. You can use camel casing also. It's just that you cannot have, special characters, or you cannot have kind of special characters. Obviously, underscore and dash are special characters, but you cannot have space in between your class name. Okay, you cannot have space. Can we write color name directly or codes are important? You can write color name directly, but hex codes are obviously important because some of the browsers do not directly support color names. So hex codes everyone supports. So yeah, that's it. The editors support the color name. Like editors are always, cool to color names. But yeah, you should use hex codes. It's important. So understood, everyone? Other than underscores and slash, can we use others? Yeah, you can use, but again, do not use something which clashes like dot or some hash or something like that. No, you cannot have both class and ID name same. No, you cannot have that. That's a violation that will throw a linter error. There are a lot of things. When I was working on GSOC, right, I had to work on front end as well. So they had their pipeline, and their pipeline used to throw error on, some things like, see, I'll tell you one other thing. Suppose we want to have a kind of a border. Okay, we want to have a border around all the divisions. I want that all the divisions should have a border. So what can we have over here? We can write blue div border, and then I want to apply a border of probably 3 pixels and solid. Okay, see, border has its own syntax. You have to tell that the border width is 3 pixels. It is solid, like there are dotted borders also. When you go on there, for CSS there is like millions of things for CSS. You can just explore according to your needs. Okay, and I want a black border. I want a black border. So if I just save this, if I go over here, I refresh, you can see that, see, first of all, this blue div class was applied to the first and the last division. So that is why both the divisions are having border. So both the divisions have a border. Now, what used to happen in GSOC, the entire pipeline used to fail just because the order of the elements was not correct. Like there is a certain order which you have to follow according to the scripts whenever you work on production level project. They have certain orders like border should be above background colored, and margin left should be above this property. All the properties should be arranged like whatever is mentioned inside the WCAG guidelines and all. So that you don't have to remember. Whenever you work on such projects, you will probably be given with a script, and you can just run that script on your local, and that will just tell you that what is the order of elements you need to follow. So just forget about it. Okay, so there are certain norms which you have to follow. You cannot have same name for your class and ID. You cannot have multiple IDs. You with the same name. You can have multiple classes with the same name. You can use that class anywhere else. Like you cannot do this. You created another blue div class with some other styling. No, you have this blue div class. You have this particular styling. You can use this blue div class a lot of times. Okay, but you cannot do things. Okay, the train has come. But you cannot do things like you cannot have the blue div. You cannot have another blue div class with some other CSS property. Okay, can you understand what I'm trying to say? You can use this blue div class a lot of times, but you cannot use this org div a lot of times. You can use this once only. Okay, got it? Great. Got it, guys? Yes. Border, yeah. We can't, just a second, we can't use color name. Why only? Just a second, let the train go. We use hex codes because that's the way how things work over here. Hex codes are read by your compiler and the code is interpreted. Okay, that is why we use hex codes. Okay, that's why we use, that's the reason how this entire thing has been built. There is a hex code for all the shades of color. Okay, so that is why we use. Okay, which is good to use. Class is good to use. Always try to use class, avoid ID. Okay. So please complete this. I'm just sending the code inside the chat box. Let me prepare a Google Doc and share the link with you guys. This is your index.html. This is your styles.css. Okay, got it, guys? And let me just share this link. Okay. Yeah. So please complete this. I'm giving you 2-3 minutes. Complete this. Yes, tag and element selectors both are same. Like it's just the name difference, nothing else. Tag or element selector, ID selector, class selectors. Okay. Guys, is it done? Do you need 1-2 minutes more? Done? Done? Okay. Okay, so there are few people who have done this. Okay, I'll be giving you 1-2 minutes. Do not worry. Okay, guys. So yeah, see, first of all, someone asked that are we done with HTML? So the basic things we are done with that. But yeah, the advanced things and all you will learn when we go inside projects. Okay, like we will be making our first project on entire front end. That's basically on HTML and CSS. And then we'll be going to when we'll be going to DOM manipulation. Now that time you will be able to understand what is the importance of HTML, CSS, and vanilla JavaScript inside projects. You will be able to understand that time. So every tech stack is incomplete when it's not merged with some other tech stacks inside some projects, inside some practical uses. Okay. So that is why. Ma'am, if we want two horizontal divisions, then what we do, like both side by side, yeah, you'll be learning about flex properties. We use flex over there, so we have an entire CSS module on that. Do not worry. Okay, great. We are just starting with CSS. CSS has a lot of things. We'll be diving into advanced CSS like transitions, then sorry, yeah, then your entire flex and also all those things we'll be learning. The projects which we are going to do in future, obviously you can add them in your resume. I'm telling you, the final Zomato master project and your your tasky project, that is your entire DOM manipulation project. Apart from that, your book my show project, these are some very awesome projects. Those are like resume level projects for some very good companies, especially your Zomato master. That though has a very good brand value. It has a complete back end, front end, everything connected. So that has a market value of around 1 lakh if you just go on selling that project. It has a market value of that. If you work as a front end developer for some company and they ask you to prepare a food website, then the Zomato master is something which has all the things connected. So it's like a very big project. And if your like recruiter sees that project inside your resume, and if you're well, kind of if you well understood those projects, like especially the Zomato master project, and you are able to make your convince your recruiter that yeah, you have built that project and you know each and everything about that project starting from all the dots and points to everything, so you know all the things about that project's tech stack, then I'm pretty sure that the recruiter will be interested. Okay, great. Everyone done? Okay, great guys, great. So that was about some basic CSS property. Now there are other CSS properties also. Like I talked about border. CSS property, there are a lot. You will understand about them like within the due course, like by making a lot of projects, then by learning other important CSS properties. There are certain CSS concepts as well. But these basic CSS property like changing the font size, changing the color, and all those things, these are basic ones. So suppose I want to target the blue division, I want to go to my index.html, and inside my index.html I have these all things. Now no one asked me that, ma'am, why don't we have a tag? Why don't we have a tag over here? We have directly written the text inside the division, though division is not writing for text. Okay, so over here you can see that we have written no tags over here, but by default, whenever you don't write any tags, that is considered as a paragraph tag inside your browser. So even if you don't write it, it has a styling of paragraph tag. But we are good developers, we will be following the norms and we will be putting it inside the paragraph tag. Okay, so let me just copy it and paste it over here, copy this and paste it over here. Okay, I saved this. Now I want that all the paragraphs should have a font color of what goes with this color. Probably this. Yeah, this is fine. So let us go over here and provide a color. So inside style.css, I want to target all the paragraphs. Since I'm targeting all the paragraphs, so I'm using element. Okay, element selector. And I'll be writing here color. So color means the font color itself, that is the text color. Okay, and I'll be pasting the hex code over here. And after pasting the hex code, if I go and refresh it, you can see that all of my divisions have this color inside them, have this particular color inside them. Got it, guys? Understood? Understood, everyone? Understood? Great, great, great. So after this, you also have a font size thing for which like you can go to the font size and you can change the font size as well. So if I go into my project and if I go over here and I say that paragraph, I want the font size to be 10 pixels. That's very small. So let us do that. And if I refresh this, you see that the font size has decreased. They are smaller. Okay, they are very small. Yeah. So that is how we do things over here. There are a lot of things like font sizes there, font color we have talked about, and a lot of other CSS, basic CSS properties are there. You can just go to basic CSS properties. W3 Schools is a good resource for CSS. Okay, so here you can see background color and these all things. So these are very easy things, but after that, what are important inside CSS? What are some important things inside CSS? Let me just mark it down. What are very important? So inside CSS, you have something called flex. Okay, this is important. Then you have your grid rule. These are important. After that, you have your transitions. Okay, transitions, these are important. Then after that you have your properties like hover property, and these are properties, they also come in. That's an entire lecture, that's very important. So these all things are very important inside CSS, and these are basically the core of CSS. And whatever properties we are dealing with now, these are like basic intro to CSS. That is why I told you that today we'll be talking about introduction to CSS. Got it, guys? You also have other things like margins, paddings, that we will be dealing tomorrow. Just a second. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Yeah. So you have these all properties. Now, what is very important inside CSS, margin and padding that you will learn inside box model. We'll be learning about them inside box model. Okay. Now, inside CSS, there is one more thing which comes under basic CSS. That is what type of CSS you can have, like linking and all. You can have inline CSS, internal CSS, or external CSS. Right now what we are using is external CSS. That's the most popular and the most recommended CSS you should use. So inside external CSS, what you do, you just have your entire CSS code in some other file and you import that file inside your document. What is internal CSS? I'm just giving a brief about that. You do not have to learn about what is internal and inline in detail. Those are easy, and secondly, you don't use them. That's not recommended. No one should use them. Okay. So what is basically your internal CSS? In internal CSS, you basically have a style tag over here, and inside the style tag, you go to CSS and you copy these codes. I'll just save this file. And over here, if I just go and paste this file and save it, and if I go to my project and refresh it, no change, absolute no change will be there, it's same. So whenever you have the entire CSS code inside your document, inside a style tag, that is called internal CSS. It is not recommended. You should never use internal CSS. After that, there is inline CSS. Inline CSS is so a big no-no. You should never ever use inline CSS. Inside inline CSS, whatever CSS property you want to have for an element, you just write over here style and then all these CSS property. Like for this division, I want a background color. Okay, so I'll write background color and hash and then the whatever color code I want. So this I'll be writing. Then I'll be giving a colon, semicolon, and then I'll be writing the other CSS property. So this is your inline CSS. You should never use inline CSS or internal CSS. That's a big no-no, because your whatever when wherever you will be working, that entire company will have their own style sheet. Zomato has its own style sheet. All the UI UX designers work hard to prepare that style sheet. They have their own color palettes. The entire Zomato has its own color palette, that's red, peachy red kind of, okay, and black and these grays and all. They have their own CSS, their own styling, their own font size, everything. Okay, all their buttons and all the things are styled according to them. So that is the reason why you should never ever use inline or internal CSS. You should everywhere, like whenever you are preparing a project, you should have your entire external CSS file where you should have your all the CSS codes and all. And whenever you'll be working with React and all, that time also you'll be able to understand that external CSS is what we use. Okay, internal and inline CSS we never use. That's just for demarcating the difference, so that you are able to understand what is the difference between these all types of CSS. But yeah, you never use those CSS. That's a big no-no. Yeah, got it, guys? Understood? Tailwind CSS is basically like Bootstrap only. Tailwind is like the father of Bootstrap. Father not, but Tailwind is like a way better version of Bootstrap. Though both are different, both are like CSS libraries only. Inside Tailwind also you have those codes and those predefined classes for providing certain styling. Inside Bootstrap also you have that, but in Tailwind CSS you have a lot of stylings. Okay. Apart from that, you will be learning a lot of things like flex properties and all, media queries and all. Those are very important because see, whenever I go to Zomato, I see that okay, right now I have this particular thing, and over here I have these all things. Now, if I go to a mobile, probably iPhone X, okay, and if I refresh it, you can see that over inside iPhone X. Just a second. Okay, inside our Zomato website, we have our this particular. Okay, I want to continue. Now, inside this, you have some different CSS properties. You can see that this entire thing has squeezed, and then inside iPhone X, you will be having your like some other like CSS properties have been changed over here, are a bit different. So if I go to nightlife and club, okay, inside this, then you can see that I have got a toggle bar over here. I have got a toggle bar, but in your entire, this particular website, you do not have a toggle bar. You do not have a toggle bar. So toggle bar and whatever is visible to you are all a part of CSS. Are all a part of CSS. You do these all front end things using CSS itself. But the thing is that you have to understand how to approach mobile view. You will understand about mobile first approach and all, how to approach mobile view, how to prepare the entire mobile structure, and then from mobile you have to modify the desktop view and also that is very important. And we will be learning about each one of them and we will be practicing them in detail. Okay, now we are in the beginning steps and a lot of students do a particular mistake. They are very kind of confident and enthusiastic towards the first lecture, but when it like when the lecture proceeds and when the curriculum goes forward and we have complex topics there, then some people think that okay, I'm not able to do this, probably I should not continue, and they lose interest. But I'm telling you that's the worst thing you can do, because in development, as you'll learn more things will get complex. And please do not give up in between. If you just continue with the flow now and push harder, then I'm damn sure that you will end up becoming a very good developer, because this entire curriculum covers everything. You have all the things in detail, like each and everything is in detail. So please make sure that you follow everything, and even if things get harder now, still you continue the course, still you push yourself harder, still you try to do things again and again. Watch the lectures again and again. Till now also there are a lot of things which I do not understand at the first go. I have to repeat things because things are not easy. Okay, coding is not very easy. At a point you'll realize that development coding are kind of difficult. So it's even if you feel that it's hard for you at some point, never give up. This course is like, if you continue till the end, then I'm sure that you'll end up being a very good developer. Do not feel in between that things are getting tough, so I should quit and all. Now they are easy. Now our lectures are getting over in 1.5 hours or 1 hour 30, 45 minutes, 1 hour 15 minutes, like that. But when we go towards the further proceedings, then you'll learn that our course will continue for 2 hours. Our entire lecture will continue for two hours or more than that. Okay, so have patience and keep practicing. That's very important. Okay, now you may be able to do things very easily. These are easy. HTML, CSS, DOM manipulation, API, that's easy. But when React and the other backend parts will come, when Zomato Master will come, there are very few students in my class who were able to complete Zomato Master. Okay. In, I guess, in 6, 7, 8 batches, very few people were able to complete Zomato Master. So I'm pretty sure that you guys will be able to complete it, each one of you. Okay. Okay. Question mark? Yes. Good. Great, great. Okay, great, guys. Great. So, do you guys have any doubts today? Have any doubts? No. Great. So guys, I hope you understood today's lecture. Now things will be easy for some days, for 2 weeks around, and then they will start getting complicated. But yeah, I'm sure you'll enjoy these sessions a lot. And I enjoyed them too. Can you just show the slide with important parts of CSS? Which slide? See. This you don't need to understand. Yeah. Over here you have your class selector, tag selector, then your ID selectors. This was a slide I had prepared for the bootcamp. You guys are pretty familiar with the syntax and all. What are attributes? We have learned attributes. So yeah, guys, let us perform. Okay. So this is basically your, you understood it. I guess I had shown you over here. Okay. In my, yeah. Saying this, ma'am. Okay, I'll be sending the screenshot in the group. Okay, guys? In the group, when I'll upload the video by 10, I'll like send the screenshot also. Okay, guys? No, there is no assignment today. Every day there won't be assignment, but yeah, weekly you will be getting 1-2 assignments. Great, guys, great. Okay then, bye-bye. Yeah, I'll send that PPT. Bye. Thank you. Thank you.